All right, we are at the American Century Championship at Edgewood Tahoe Golf Course. I'm joined by Trey Wingo. Trey, you are really diving into the NFL with the Pro Football Network and the Wingo Network podcast. Obviously, we cover the 49ers here on 49ers Talk, so that is one difficult division, isn't it?
It's impossible. And thanks. We got to... Just real quickly, self-promotion.
Yes.
We're about to announce a new show on the Wingo Network with a couple of former Hall of Famers and GMs and coaches. It's going to be really fun. So look for that on my socials and also on my YouTube pages, Trey Wingo and Trey Wingo Golf. But it's a tough division. I mean, Seattle's still really good. They had some losses. They're amazing. The 49ers, they can just avoid being the most injured team every year, are really good. And, oh, by the way, the Rams got Myles Garrett. And Aaron Donald may come out of retirement. It's going to be hard to win in the NFC West. And then, of course, we have the Cardinals and either Gardner Minshew or Jacoby Brissett as a starting quarterback. That's not going to work in this division.
Let's start off with the Rams here. So, there was a team that was probably, talent-wise, the best in the NFL.
Agreed.
And then they add Myles Garrett. Right?
Yeah.
And they really went with the corners from Kansas City.
Two of them, McDuffie and Watson,
improving probably a position of need, their biggest weakness through the years, and then to stack Myles Garrett on top of it. Now, they gave up a lot to get him as far as Jared Verse goes, but how do you see the Rams? And I mean, I know the games aren't played on paper, but boy, heading into the season, they look tough.
Look, the only team that could score in Seattle last year from the middle of the season on through the playoffs was the Rams. Go look at Seattle's defensive scores that they gave up from week 9 on. The Rams are the only team that got them. They got them in that Thursday night game where they had the controversial 2-point conversion that flipped everything and really gave Seattle the division title. And then in the NFC Championship game, the Rams scored at bunches. No one else was scoring on Seattle. Yeah. So now you take the team that is prolific on offense and add Myles Garrett, arguably the best defensive player in football. And I'm telling you, I'd put it at 75-25. Aaron Donald comes out of retirement.
Really?
You put Donald and Myles Garrett on the same defensive line, good luck.
So when you say that, Aaron Donald coming out of retirement, would that be something where he would just, he's not going to go to training camp. Would that be something like a mid-season type of thing?
Hey, look, here's my take on it. I've talked to a couple people inside the Rams organization. Aaron's not going to half-ass it, for lack of a better term. And you need to bleep that, go ahead. I apologize. I live in the YouTube world now. He's either going to be all in or he's not. I don't think he's a guy that'll come in after 8 games and be like, okay, I'm ready to roll. If he's going to play, he's going to play like Aaron Donald. He's not going to just, he's going to be the dude. You know what I mean? And so I think he's working out right now, from what I've heard, with a bunch of his trainer to see if he can get himself. He's only 36. To be that guy again that destroyed Jared Verse in that workout. Jared said, "Don't call the police. Tell that man to stay away from me." That's how hard that workout was. So if he's coming in, I think he's in. I think he's all in week 1.
Wow.
I really believe that.
So you did mention Seattle's defense. 3 games against the 49ers last year. 49ers win week 1, 17-13.
Yep.
And then for all the marbles, as far as home field advantage, they lose 13-3.
Yep.
And then, of course, they get drilled in the divisional round 41-6.
Yep.
So you're talking 2 games with Kyle Shanahan's offense and the number of weapons the 49ers had. They were only able to score 9 points in those 2 most important games. Yeah. How is that possible? And what is that indicative of? Is that a statement on the 49ers off? What do you make of that? It's
a couple of things. Obviously, Seattle's defense was great. They've lost a couple of players, but their core is still there. But the 49ers lose all their players every year. That's a part of it, and your Kittle gets hurt. All the wide receivers get hurt. I love Mike Evans. I think that's a great pickup for them. The thing for me in San Francisco is, can they just not be one of the top 3 most injured teams in football? It feels like the last 5 years in a row, that's been the case. That and playing Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl is the only thing that can slow them down. The only 2 times that Kyle Shanahan has not made the postseason is after losing to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs at a Super Bowl. They're consistent. They just got to avoid getting just bereft with injuries, and they've got to figure out a way to keep that receiving core a little more steady. The whole Brandon Ayuk thing is a disaster right now. If I'm his agent, I'm taking his phone away from him.
Well, he doesn't have an agent.
Yeah, well, that's the issue then.
Yeah,
because he's just not He's hurting his chances every time he does this. And now he's in a beef with Jaden Daniels, the team supposedly that wants to trade for him. Like, what are you actually doing? And that's problematic because the Niners are like, we know you want him, maybe not as much as they did before, so we're not going to cut him. We're going to get something for him. So it's kind of like that situation where you're driving cross country in your family vacation and you and your brother are in the backseat of the car and you start a fight and the father turns around and goes, whose fault was it? It was his. No, it was his. That's sort of where we are with San Francisco and the Commanders right now.
So when you look at the 49ers wide receiving core, you mentioned Mike Evans. They have Ricky Pearsall back. They had Christian Kirk. Were you surprised at 33 overall they took Dejon Stribling from Ole Miss? I mean, in the offseason program, he looks the part. He's big, he's fast, he's strong, he blocks, he's yards after the catch. He checks all the boxes. So, what can a rookie do in that offense?
Better living by volume. It's like the Sam's Club approach or Costco. Instead of 16 rolls of toilet paper, I'll take 64. And then you do that. One of those guys is probably going to work out. So I just think they're loading the box with as many options they can get for Brock Purdy to throw to, and we'll see what happens one way or the other.
Yeah, what do you think of Brock Purdy?
I don't understand the hate around Brock Purdy. Maybe hate's not a strong word. The indifference to his really, really good play. Like, he does everything you want someone to do. He's sneaky good when he has to run. He doesn't force mistakes. A lot of their throws in that Kyle Shanahan offense are based on timing. I'm going to throw it to the spot where the wide receiver is supposed to be. And a lot of times you look at some of those interceptions and the wide receiver wasn't there. He got bumped off his route or something happened. People are like, well, that's a terrible throw by Brock Purdy. No, it's a timing-based offense. And if Brock's got to throw the ball with the belief that the receiver is going to be where he needs to be by the time the ball is going to get there. So a lot of the things that look terrible for Brock aren't exactly terrible for Brock at all. It's like somebody got bumped off their route and it wasn't exactly where he needed to be, and that's where the ball was.
So defensively, two of the biggest injuries, Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, with Raheem Morris coming in, Robert Saleh going to the Titans, do the 49ers have enough firepower defensively to compete with the Rams in Seattle?
I don't know the answer to that question. If they're healthy, yeah, they do. But I don't know what we're going to see. And everybody with the ACL is very different, right? It's a very different thing for everybody. Not everybody is Adrian Peterson. In 2011 Christmas Eve, Adrian Peterson tore his ACL. People were, well, I don't know, he's going to be ready for week one. He came within 9 yards of setting the single-season rushing record. Like, some guys are just different. You know what I mean? So I don't know how they're going to respond. They're going to need those guys to be healthy and as close to 100% for them to compete with the offenses that they're going to see, especially in that division.
Yeah, we're not going to draw too big of conclusions from what we see week one, but week one is in Australia, 49ers and Rams.
That's a good one.
That's a good one to start off, isn't it?
It is, although, I got to be honest, I'm a little concerned about what the NFL is doing here. We used to start on Thursdays. Well, now we're going to start on Wednesdays because of the game in Australia. We're going to have the game on Thursday. We're going to have Sunday games. We're going to have Monday games. Oh, by the way, we've invented a new holiday called Thanksgiving Eve. We're going to have a Thanksgiving Eve game. We're also going to have a Black Friday game. And then in the middle of December, we're going to have games on Saturdays. Yeah. Like, the thing the NFL has done great is that on a Sunday or a Monday or the occasional Thursday, you're locked in. You're locked in because you got to see these games. Well, now they're almost every day of the week. And yes, the NFL ratings were through the roof last year. They were up 10%, which I didn't think was possible. And they were up, I think the viewership was a 34-year high. But at some point, if you don't protect the scarcity model that has made them famous, Sundays are our day. Monday night is our night. If it's on every night of the week, at some people are going to be like, I don't need to see this one. But I do love the Wednesday night, Thursday, whatever it is, in San Francisco game. But it's, but now the thing of the champion having that home game to celebrate their title is sort of lost in the wash a little because we started the game the week before in Australia, the night before in Australia.
But you say that, but at the same time, the general public has given them no reason to not make it a 7-day week.
That is correct. Mark Cuban about 12 years ago said the NFL is a decade away from having real problems, and he's been wrong. The NFL has grown, but I don't know if he's going to be wrong forever. Like, the NFL is also into these media rights negotiations with Apple, Amazon, YouTube, Netflix, all this kind of stuff. Apple's going to be fine with or without the NFL. Like, they're going to sell 3 trillion phones whether they have the NFL or not. Yeah. The NFL and network television need each other to survive. Hazel Rocket. Sorry, Jason. If the networks don't have NFL football, I don't know what a network is anymore. Sunday Night Football has been the highest rated show in primetime for 15 years. And suddenly they're thinking about maybe having Sunday Night Football go somewhere else. I don't know what networks do if they don't have football. Like, with all the streaming choices we have and all the on-demand stuff, the only real reason to watch networks is because we have live sporting events. And the best sporting events to watch are live NFL games.
Yeah. Well, what's your philosophy in covering the NFL in the football, Pro Football Network? How do you approach the coverage of the league?
I just try and analyze what I see and talk about the things that I find interesting. I just try and be as objective as I can about the things that I think are working and not working. It's really an interesting situation because with the NBA and their media rights and how much they made, that really ticked off a lot of people at Park Avenue. And I think that they rightfully so think they're looking at a 40 to 50% bump on media rights. Now, ESPN pays $2.5 billion, so a 40% bump is $4-point-something billion. Yeah. It's a lot of money. These trees, these beautiful trees out here at Edgewood, they don't grow to the sky. At some point, there's a ceiling. Now, I don't know when that ceiling is, but a really good business model would be for them to say, what is the ceiling? And let's make sure that we're where we need to be for long-term success. Because if you go to all these streaming companies, YouTube, hey, we love the NFL. They're going to make a fortune with or without it. Networks have to have the NFL or they don't have a chance. Yeah. Go where you're needed, not where you're wanted.
Cool. Just bringing it back to the 49ers on that segue, what is the ceiling for the 49ers in this upcoming season?
They have every opportunity to do what they've had every year with Kyle Shanahan. Go as far as their talent can take them. They have the ability to be one of those top 5 teams every year that can win it all, but things have got to go their way. The last few years with the injuries, they just haven't. I'm not giving up on Kyle Shanahan. I know there's a lot of people that might not be as thrilled about his rate of success in the Bay Area, but if Kyle Shanahan was fired tomorrow, there would be 28 teams that would be clamoring to have him. Yeah.
All right, Trey. Hey, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, no worries.
Hit him long and straight out there.
Well, I'm going to hit him often. I can promise that. We'll see what happens. That's the guarantee.